Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
And Claressa got a stoppage, which was unusual, seeing Claressa knock someone down. How's she fighting at middle, not scoring no knockdowns, and now all of a sudden she's turned into a puncher at heavyweight? And now she's screaming GWOAT. Claressa's opponent, Vanessa Giovannisci. 9 fights in 8 years. Why so few fights? Out of them 9 wins, only one of her wins was against an opponent with more than 10 wins. Her record is comprised of women with no more than 2-3 wins on their records. No more than 4 or 5 fights. The 3 opponents she's fought who have had more than 10 wins, she's only beat one of them via split decision. That tells you a lot. In 2017, she challenged for the heavyweight title against Alessandra Jimenez, the Mexican heavyweight champion. At 5'6", Giovannisci weighed in at 230. That's extremely heavy for women who don't carry as much muscle. Well, I worked out why she's got so few fights in 8 years. After that loss, she took 6 years out and came back at 180. Her opponent, the champion, Alessandra Jimenez, she weighed 236. She's around 5'11". Her last fight was in 2020. She weighed 160 against Frenchon Cruz. Like, they're not legit heavyweights if they're losing 70 odd pounds from heavyweight back down to light heavy, back down to super mid and middle. Giovannisci, like I said, 230 for the Jimenez fight. In her next fight, she weighed 180. Now she's weighing 175 to fight Claressa Shiields. You get any of the men fighting at heavyweight, let's say 240, 250. You get them to lose 70 pounds in a couple of months or even a year. It'd be near on impossible because of the muscle mass they have as opposed to the body mass index of a women's fighter. They're weighing more than Alexander Usyk, Deontay Wilder, and a few more heavyweights out there. And then sweating down to light heavy. The average male heavyweight, 6'3" to 6'7", let's say. They can't lose that much weight without depleting themselves severely. When David Haye fought Derek Chisora, Haye weighed in at 210. 210. Former cruiserweight champion at the old weight limit of 190. He's 6'3", right? You look at David Haye today, he's lean as anything. David Haye told Derek, if you was to diet properly, you would make cruiserweight no trouble. And I'm here to tell David Haye, bull fucking shit. Derek cannot get in that ring no lower than 240 and be healthy. And Derek's about 6'2", 6'1". David Haye had to bulk up to make heavy. Derek's a natural heavy, and he's not one of the taller heavyweights. Derek can't get down to no 200 pound, David. 235 at a push, and he'll be weak as a kitten, as John Fury said. 2003, Roy Jones moved up from light heavy to heavyweight and took John Ruiz's WBC title. He weighed in 193 for that fight. 8 months later, he dropped back down to light heavy. So he had to drop 18 pounds. That's just 18 pounds. And he's 5'11", extremely muscular. You saw him against John Ruiz. He didn't look like he had an ounce of fat on him. He dropped 15 pounds for that Tarver fight. And his career was never the same again. That's how hard it is to shed bucket loads of weight at elite level for elite athletes. But these women are obviously not elite athletes if they're weighing in 230 for their heavyweight fights and then coming back down to light heavy. At 170 or 160 is what Alessandra Jimenez did. She dropped from 236 to 160 to fight Frenchon Cruz. You know, everybody was sniping at Floyd Schofield's dad for saying Gervonta Davis out of camp can weigh up to 12 stone light heavy, then bowl back down to 9 stone 5 for championship fights. They were saying, how can a lightweight at 5'5" get up to 12 stone? Well, Dwight Muhammad Cowie was 5'6", and he was light heavyweight champion and cruiserweight champion. But Dwight was basically a ball of muscle. Great fighter. Great head movement. So, Claressa's historic win, becoming heavyweight champion, in my eyes has just opened Pandora's box to what goes on in women's boxing. Gotta keep it real. They've got to be looking at the height to weight ratio. They've got to be looking at that. And ask why these women, even the Mexican Alessandro Jimenez who's 5'11", but for the most part, women who are 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", what are you doing fighting at 236? You clearly shouldn't be there if you can drop down to 175 or 160. You clearly shouldn't be up there. You know, we're looking at men's boxing. Roy Jones losing 15 pounds, which is nothing compared to what these women are losing. 15 pounds has catastrophic effects on his career. October 2007, Chris Byrne weighed 211 pounds to fight Alexander Povetkin, and he lost that fight. 8 months later, he drops down to light heavy, so that's 35 pounds, and he's unrecognizable when he's stopped by Sean George, who today is one of Zhilei Zhang's trainers. He's stopped by Sean George. He's unrecognizable in the ring. You know, 35 pounds, unless you're an exceptional athlete, is likely to take a toll on how you perform in the ring, because likely you're losing a lot of muscle. Claressa won 2 titles, I believe, on the night, light heavy and heavyweight. Well, I would argue you don't need a light heavy or a heavyweight division in women's boxing. Light heavy is a push. That's a push. But heavyweight, you could argue and say, well, Beats, what about the women who can make 220 and be in fighting shape? There's not enough to justify a heavyweight division. That's the bottom line. There doesn't need to be a women's heavyweight division. Yeah? If we stop being PC and look at it pragmatically and logically, out of curiosity, I looked at Joannisi's last opponent, the Argentinian Vidal, 10-2-0. She's fought as low as 149. And she's challenging Joannisi for the heavyweight title at 170. Remember Guillermo Jones? The Panamanian who started at super welterweight and fought all the way up to cruiser. Well, he was 6'4". He was 6'4". There's not much women with the skeletal development or the height who can do that. He fought all the way up to heavyweight, 240. Now the question is, let's say you do get a legitimate heavyweight sized woman, 6'5", 6'6", weighing in at 250. Are you going to put her in there with a 170 pound woman? Around 5'6", 5'8", Claressa or Vanessa's height? You know, Claressa's a big woman now. She's a grown woman. She's probably enjoying eating her food, coming in at the light heavyweight limit. But her real challenges will be at 168, where the women have to make weight, and at the top echelon, you can't argue that these are proper athletes. You can't argue. You can't argue that. The tougher fights will be at 168 and at 160. That's where her tougher fights will be. These women she's fighting at 175 are not proper light heavyweights, and they're not proper heavyweights either. Claressa Shields and Savannah Marshall had their big fight at 160 in a proper women's weight class. But even so, because the gene pools are not as strong as the men's divisions, they would still need to fight each other multiple times to become greats. Because there's not enough competition in the division like that will get them the wins to become GWOATs. But why hasn't the Savannah Marshall rematch happened? Why are they fighting in the PFL and not fighting each other? You know, Katie Taylor, she's had the 2 fights with Delvin Pursoon, 2 fights with Chantel Cameron. She's about to have a second one with Amanda Serrano. Claressa hasn't had the dance partners that Katie has to surpass Katie as a GOAT. That's just my opinion. She hasn't had that. I remember the fight with Christine Hammer, where Claressa was supposed to be a tough fight. But I studied Hammer. I knew she wouldn't put up a great battle with Claressa. Good win, though. Good win. The Hannah Gabriel's fight, that was a big fight for Claressa. She got off the floor to win that one on points. She fought French on Cruz when they were both having their debuts. No one knew who French on was. They knew who Claressa was from the Olympics. If they fought now, it would have more meaning at 168. It would have more meaning. But, you know, Katie Taylor, she's had the 2 fight series, as I've already mentioned. And she's also beat people like Jessica McCaskill, a younger, more vicious, aggressive Jessica, Christina Linatado, Natasha Jonas. I don't think Claressa's resume stands up to Katie's. I don't think it stands up to Katie's. You know, I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert on Amanda Serrano's resume. I'm not going to pretend, yeah? But just look at the amount of KOs and knockouts she gets compared to Claressa in what I assume are tougher weight classes than light heavy / heavyweight. A GWOAT. I don't know if Claressa's the GWOAT, man. I don't know if I can give it to Claressa. I can't legitimize that heavyweight fight or the heavyweight division in women's boxing in my mind. I can't legitimize it. It looks like a load of bullcrap. And it's just makeshift. It looks like, you know, like a poor copy of what men do. Why even have the heavyweight division? Why not just have light heavy And if you're over that as a woman, well, oh well. Women ain't generally that big. You don't have the gene pool to make a legit heavyweight division. We've established that. So I can't really take that fight serious. That's why she's calling out Katie. That's why she's calling out Amanda Serrano, even though they're way too small to fight her. Yeah? Because she knows there's not enough of a gene pool in the weight she's fighting at, heavyweight/light heavy, for her to really legitimately say she's having the same type of careers as they are. After 168, women's boxing fizzles out. Claressa should be at 168 fighting Shiields, Frenchon, rematching the Geordie lass, Savannah. That's where a legacy can be built. But all this fictitious heavyweight champion, I don't know. Maybe she can't make 168 no more. Maybe she can't make it. Or maybe she just can't be bothered to bust her ass in the gym like that. Because she knows it's tougher to make that weight and the competition is way harder. It's not rocket science. The fighters I would like to see Claressa Shields fighting: Savannah Marshall rematch, Frenchon Cruz rematch, Shiields Green. And if I've missed anyone in the comment section, let me know. Are there any legit light heavies or heavyweights for Claressa to fight that any of you are interested in? Am I missing something? I've just got hold of the Sporting News pound for pound women top 12, and it's been updated 7 hours ago. They've got Claressa Shields number 1. They've got her number 1. Katie Taylor number 2. Amanda Serrano number 3. Siniesta Estrada number 4. Chantel Cameron number 5. Natasha Jonas number 6. Yacosta Vale number 7. Dina Thorsland number 8. Michaela Mayo number 9. Delphine Passoon number 10. Gabriela Celeste Alanis number 11. Sandy Ryan number 12. Now here's what's revealing, right? Claressa Shields is at number 1 at light heavy and heavyweight champion. But there's not another light heavyweight in that top 12. Not another heavyweight in that top 12. There's not a super middleweight in that top 12. They haven't got Frenchon Cruz in there. There's not a middleweight in there. Savannah Marshall's not in there. Shiields Green, she's not there. There's not a middleweight or a 168 pounder or a light heavyweight or a heavyweight in them rankings. Now, I don't know if there's any arguments that Savannah Marshall should be in there and Frenchon Cruz should be in there, but isn't it telling that the last weight class Claressa fought in, light heavyweight/heavy, there's not one single fighter from there ranked in the top 12? Because women's boxing is stronger in the lower weight divisions, probably from welterweight downwards. Tell me I'm lying.